Hi, everyone. Welcome to January 2025. My name is Tammy Reger, and I am a higher self alchemist and author. Um, Today, I want to talk about what the hell is going on with the energy of January 2025. In past years, we have had a couple of weeks of integration when the new year comes before it's pedal to the metal. That is not the case with January 2025. It has come in like a lion. I know that it's the snake energy, but it is on fire. Now, it's by design. 2025 is many will call like an ending year, and that means that we all have to go through this really quick transformation process. In a previous video, I talked about the snake energy and what the snake energy represents in 2025, and I'll link that video so that if you want to go back and listen to that, you may. But I want to talk about what has happened in the last, let's say, week. I think it's been a week. Time blurs for me, so it's sometimes hard for me to track time, but I think it's been about a week. And I want to talk about what it is that one is happening at night while you're sleeping, because I'm finding with my clients and myself, it's a similar thing. So it seems to be a more uh, happening thing than just say me. But I also want to talk about like why this is happening. So, the snake energy is that transformation energy. It is about shedding one's skin. Previous to this, we were in preparation mode of deciding who we wanted to be, whether it was our um, old self or new self. And in 2025, there is no gray area anymore. This idea of you being able to have your old self exist in your normal reality, whether go to a job or be with family or friends, partner, whatever it is, and then be able to dabble in the truth of who you are is gone. You cannot do that anymore. If you find yourself doing that, it's going to get harder and harder and harder because there's no room for that. You're changing to become the highest version of yourself if you choose to be that. You do have a choice to still stay in the old self if that's what you're going to choose, but you can't do both anymore. There used to be for decades this gray area where you could stay. It's like on the fence, like on both sides. 2025, it's gone. You have to do the work in order for you to fully step into who you are. There is no way for you to not shed your skin. And whichever way you choose, whether it is to choose your old self or new self, and by the way, no choice is wrong. It's whatever you are ready for. And knowing that each soul on this planet is on their own path and making their own unique choice. So if you're not ready to go there, that's fine. Just know that it's going to seem strange, especially if you've been on this path for a while. This is what you've been building towards for years, if not decades, for some people. So for all of a sudden, for you to not choose to be that new self, it may become harder because you going along with your higher self to do this all the time, your higher self thought, okay, they're on board, and then you get here and you're like, eh. Like, um, I do have some clients who are, and I will tell you that it's getting harder and harder and harder and harder and taking more and more energy. So the fatigue or um, just overall drain, confusion, because they can't break the barrier between who they were as the old and who they are within new. And if you think of a better analogy of this, it's like you're on the edge of the bridge and you're hanging on by two fingers. You're either going to get back up on the bridge and be that old self, or you're going to let go. And if you want to let go, you figure out what those two things are because it's going to be harder and harder to hold there. And if you think about even doing that, how long could you hold that before you are forced to let go? And no one wants you to be forced to let go. It's supposed to be a natural process, and it's normal to be afraid. Letting go is letting go of the known and allowing yourself to be in the unknown. And this is a very scary part of this enlightenment process that we're all going through as souls at different levels. And the snake energy, um, where was it going? It is in the unknown. Unless it happens to be a snake that is in a tree, let's say. But let's talk about most snakes, at least the ones in my area, do not climb trees. They are on the ground. And from their perspective, they can't see a whole lot. I don't know how well their eyesight is. They use their tongue mostly to be able to feel and sense the environment around them, but they have a very small view of the world. And how this translates is that the snake is comfortable in the unknown. It doesn't have to know everything else around it. It just knows that has the tools it needs in order to stay in that environment to stay safe. So when you let go and you surrender to your new self and the avatar that you've been working to get back to, you have to surrender to the unknown. And I find that that is a place where many people get stuck because it's scary. We've been told from a young age that we always have to have goals and know all the steps to get there, and to not take a step until we know exactly what the steps are and where we're going. And that has set us up for problems now. Because in 2025, that is not what is happening. We're not being shown what's happening. And the more we focus on what we think is going to happen, it doesn't happen because we're focusing on the wrong thing. They're literally trying, your higher self and source are literally trying to wean you off of you having to know everything before you move. Your higher self and this version of yourself, your true self that you are becoming, exists in the unknown and thrives there. This is where that natural flow is, where everything just seems to manifest. Those synchronicities, the synergy, the knowing what to do is in the unknown. It's not in the known. So if you're somebody who needs to overanalyze everything to death before you move, that is going to become a bigger and bigger and bigger problem. And you will find potentially that you do not manifest as easily or at all because you're focusing on trying to get it the way you have always done so. And it will not work that way in 2025 and beyond. Before Atlantis and all this, let's say Lemuria, even before that, this is how we worked. This is how we were. We trusted in the universe, we trusted in ourselves to know that we had all the information we needed in order to take the next step, and we trusted that the next step would come and that we would have all the resources to do it without any issues. And while I understand there are a lot of stories that have been told to us over many, many, many lifetimes that prevents us from being able to maybe fully get into that, it is something that we all need to release now. One thing. So we are being forced to let go of the known. The world is, in a way, crumpling right now, or it feels very chaotic. And they were showing me an image earlier before of like a pool cover, and it has fasteners on the side. You can snaps. I don't have a pool, but we did as a kid. And there, anyways, it holds the pool cover on. Okay. And there's so much tension right now between the universe and everything that's going on, and that's really about balance. I'm going to do a different video on that. Okay. Think of like a giant weight being put in the middle of that pool, and it's pushing down, pushing down, pushing down, pushing down. What's going to happen to those fasteners on the outside? They're going to start popping. And that is what's happening. But here's the thing to remember. Those fasteners aren't popping outside of you, they're popping inside of you. And we're being asked to look at what each of those popping is that you're having or seeing a lot of in the outside world, how that is a reflection of you. And balance is one of them. And like I said, I want to do a different video on that. So as this crunching motion happens, as this pool cover starts to sink into the water, right? The pool cover covers the water. We have to evaluate what these fasteners around the outside of the pool have been trying to prevent us from being able to feel. Water is all about feeling, but it's also about flow. How those fasteners preventing us from being in our own flow. And what's underneath that cover, right? These covers are majorly see-through, depending on what time you have. Some of them let water through, so they're not quite see-through. But you can't see what's underneath them. Yeah, you know there's water under there, but you don't know what else. You don't know if the water is clean or if it's algae filled or dirty or if there's leaves or rocks or sand. You have no idea what's underneath the cover. It's the unknown. And that pushing of the fasteners on the edge of the pool is for us to surrender to the unknown and what's underneath and trust that what's under there is safe. But because we've been so programmed to first know what's in the water before we let go, we're prolonging the process, or we can be prolonging the process. Some of us, myself included, are just like, whatever, I don't freaking care. I've been on this for so long. I know that if I resist, it's just going to be worse. I'll have more pain in my body. I won't sleep as good. I won't be able to get deep sleep because I'll be afraid of, integrating whatever I did during the day. So it just gets harder. So I know that if they're pushing me or I'm being guided to surrender to the unknown, that is the way forward. But if you can't surrender to what is underneath the cover, you got to look at what the fasteners on the outside are. And these can be thought forms. The mind is very good at this. The mind will keep you running around the pool deck over and over and over again, trying to find a different way for you to get underneath the cover that is safer. And I'm going to tell you, it doesn't exist. It will just create more and more stories for you to believe that there is, when there really isn't. There's a much easier way, but you can't see it because your mind has been trained to not surrender to that, or trying not to trust the unknown. It could be many things. Okay, so that is happening. The other thing that's happening with this, and I had this as I talked about it. Now, where did it go? Okay, maybe not. Maybe we will save that for another video because it went away. But there was something else, and it wasn't balance. Oh, I know it is. So that's happening during the day. We're watching this play out on the world or national stage, okay? And we have to remember it is all just a reflection of us, or each of us individual have some type of responsibility for what we're seeing in the outside world. And it takes us to go within and look at those deep things. So can you surrender to the unknown? And the more you can surrender, it can be a process. Today maybe you can only surrender a little bit. It's okay. And then you got to work through something else because something else comes up and you're like, oh, I'm not really sure. Just keep going, keep swimming. But you can take breaks and go to the edge of the pool if you need to and sit and take a breath. And maybe it's a day, or maybe it's 20 or 12 hours, whatever. But don't give up. Don't get out of the pool. We're all in this energy of change and transformation, shedding of the old skin, death and rebirth. And those energies aren't always easy. In fact, if they were, we would do them much better. And I think at some points in the history of our souls, it was easier. It's just with everything that has been, uh, all the stories that have been told to us, which are just beliefs, thought forms, we have lost our ability to really be in the energy of death and rebirth. And in the ancient Egyptian stories, they talk about how each day is a death and rebirth. When you go to sleep, it's a death, and when the sun rises again, it's a rebirth. So in that way, you're already doing it. The problem is that many of us go through that and then we rebirth the same version of ourselves the next day. We haven't necessarily changed. And again, that's probably another video as to why that's happening. But swimming and letting go of this unknown can be scary. It's okay. The universe and your higher self are guiding you into the unknown because they know in there, once you're comfortable there, you will find the sweetness of that. It's just that it's the unknown of the unknown that is like, oh. And one of the things that this unknown is allowing us to have is freedom. And this is inner freedom, not this idea of freedom outside. Freedom outside doesn't come from anyone else. It's within ourselves. Once you have inner freedom, you will see a world that's free. So there's work to be done there. And I will say that a lot of my clients, including myself, have had fear of being too free. And that's something else to look at because in 2025, it is about freeing ourselves. And it doesn't mean necessarily from outside things, but freeing ourselves from within. Freeing us from the stories we tell ourselves about why we can't have what we want. The stories that we tell ourselves at our job or when we go to the bank or the grocery store or we're on the highway about why the world is the way it is or why you can't have anything, have something or do something or not be able to manifest something. Those are all stories you tell yourself, and then through those stories you manifest. And those stories keep you bound. They take away your freedom. They take away your ability to choose differently. And every moment you are making choices, and those choices make your reality. And your choice to tell yourself stories over and over and over again about past events or things that you're afraid of, you are creating your reality through the choices to tell yourself those stories. So you have to look at how you have changed yourself to those stories. And some of these stories can definitely be from the outside world. But it's only when we believe that they're true that they become part of our reality. Whether it's on social media, the news, magazines, wherever, it doesn't matter. They're just telling a story. And it only becomes real when you believe it to be so. And we get to change our stories. But some of us have this mind loop because without our stories, we don't know who we are because they have become part of our identity. And some of us are afraid to be too free. Can you imagine what it would feel like to have quiet in your mind? Not thinking about anything, not needing to be anywhere, not needing to do anything, no to-do list, nothing. No overthinking, no overanalyzing, none of it, just peace. And all you hear from time to time is the sound of your higher self and or source saying, hey, wouldn't this be cool if we did this? And you got the direction and the clarity that you want. You can't get that clarity when you've got 8,000 things going on in your head. like the hamster wheel, I always call this, or some people call it the monkey mind. And we're so over analyzing, over processing, listening to everyone else's stories, and then manifesting ourselves. And it's like this constant thing. And many of us can't shut that off at night. So then we can't sleep. And then it runs all night. The clarity that you want on what the hell you're supposed to be doing with your life, or how to make your dreams a reality, or that peace that you want comes with you freeing your mind. I've gotten there. It's sometimes hard to keep. I like stories. We all do. And we're not supposed to get rid of all the stories because your life is a story. It's supposed to be about good stories, not about bad stories. And it doesn't mean that there isn't going to be times when you have stuff happen to you that you're like, what the hell? It's just that you don't make it more than it is. We have a tendency to make it more than it is. And we tell ourselves that story over and over and over again, and we just manifest it over and over and over again. And it's time to remember the power of being able to create new stories. But I bring that in because those stories are what are potentially preventing you from having that freedom and that inner freedom. And that inner freedom can feel too free. And I remember the first time I had this with a client, and I was like, what do you mean freedom is too free? Like, I don't understand. And it usually is because there's something that has happened in other lifetimes where you were that free and you got yourself into trouble. There's this energy of being afraid to be without guardrails, and somehow those stories that we tell ourselves are the guardrails. But those guardrails are so limiting now that we can't find our way out anymore. They become constricting. So they're not supposed to be used that way. You are supposed to have that inner freedom. And once you can really tap into the universe and trust source fully, you won't need the guardrails. And part of this is that we're afraid to make mistakes. You're learning. Do kids not make mistakes? I know I made a lot of mistakes when I was a kid. So why are we holding ourselves to the standard? Part of your soul's growth is to make mistakes. It happens. But you have to be able to forgive yourself for them and move on. But many of us have chosen to hold on to that as proof that it's not safe to be that free. But 2025 is about finding that freedom. Um, so I just want you to ask yourself right now, like, are you afraid to be that free? What if you were so free that money flowed to you so easily, so easily? All your job was peaceful and beautiful. You knew what your purpose was. Your business was so overabundant, you didn't know what to do with yourself. And everything you asked for came true. Because that's really what you were created for. We're all supposed to have the resources we need in order to achieve the purpose and or soul growth we have in this lifetime, or any lifetime really. But when we lock ourselves down and not being free enough to allow that flow in, we cut it off. And we tell ourselves stories about why we can't have it. And then source, or your higher self are sitting outside with this giant bucket of gold coins, and you're like, no, I can't have that because of this story they tell myself. And January is about us surrendering to the unknown, because 2025 is going to be all about the unknown. And if you can't already see that, or you haven't been able to see that, just look at 2025 and see, and kind of tap into it, because we really don't know what's going to happen in 2020. We never really do in a year, but 2025 really seems very unknown. leery because again, we have all this collapsing energy going on. Remember the pool cover with the fastener, so we don't know what's underneath. I I don't know if we've ever really been in that kind of energy at this level. So there's that. But we, and there's threats of freedom being taken away. But that's just a reflection of the fact that you're not free inside yourself. No one can take your freedom away from you if you believe it is already yours and that you have it within you. And you don't just believe, oh, it's my sovereign right. No, 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 no. You become freedom. No one can ever take away from you, but you don't believe that there is anybody who can take away from you because you are freedom. It's different. And maybe you catch what I mean by that. There's no blame. There's no fighting anybody to say that they can't take my freedom away because it doesn't exist. Freedom just is. It's just like you breathing. It just is. In your reality, everyone is playing a role that you have assigned them based on the stories you tell them. You tell yourself, sorry. So when you believe that when you fully embody inner freedom, the people around you will mirror that back to you. The world changes when you change your stories, your thought forms. You get your mind out of the runaway train it's on that you may be choosing to feed more stuff that makes it go faster and faster and faster with stories that aren't yours. Stories you weren't supposed to even manifest and experience. So you're going to choose to manifest your own story or someone else's. So those are the two things that I sense in January and is here. There is no integration time. There's a moon, I think, coming up on Monday. And they talk about how that's, going on and how that's affecting us. And I know the Schumann resonance has been off the charts, a lot of solar activity. On Sunday and Monday, I felt like my head was not screwed onto my body. It was very strange, but sometimes when the Earth's energy gets funky, I get funky and I just kind of roll with it. So, and that's part of the reason why I'm not very consistent with this channel because some days I just can't. And I know not to push it because that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. So January's energy is here. Are you ready? Are you ready to go all in, surrender to it, allow it to guide you and teach you and show you the way instead of you trying to figure it out for yourself? Because try as you may, you won't. Because anytime you think you got it, by forcing it, the universe will show you that it's the wrong way. And we're all being shown this in many different ways in our own lives, but also potentially on the national or world stage. So we got to stop focusing on all that because none of that matters. And here's the thing that I just want to add this little bit because this is important to remember. And I will do a video on balance, but I just want to add this to this part. For tens of thousands of years, we've lived on a planet with patriarchy. Okay? And this patriarchy is this giant pendulum. And this pendulum is swinging so fast and so furious, or had gotten to the point where it's swinging so fast and so furious. So if you know, like at an amusement park, these rides that go like they swing and they get all the way to the top, they don't maybe go all the way up and over, but they may hang and then they come back. Think of that as the pendulum and how high patriarchy was swinging. 2025 is about getting that pendulum to stop swinging so much. And that takes energy to do. Just like it takes energy eventually, at first when the pendulum starts to get going, it takes a lot of energy. And then it's just kind of inertia to get it going. And then if you still more energy in, it gets faster and faster. But to stop that pendulum, And that pendulum exists inside of each of us as well in the outside world. It takes energy, surrender even, to get that inertia of that pendulum to stop. And that is the energy of 2025, because there's a new way of being that will come in behind this. But the patriarchy energy has been so ingrained in us since at least Atlantis that the pendulum is so strong. Now, mind you, it's been broken down over the last decade or so, little by little, but it's not at the place where it needs to be, where it's a smooth transition. Because we all have been holding on to these fasteners on this pool cover that we don't want to let go of. So now it's go time, and it's just like this crumpling, like the pulling in of the pool cover away from those fasteners. And some people are going all in, and other people are trying to keep those fasteners together. And I tell you, you might be able to do it first, but eventually you're not going to be able to do that. The things that aren't working for you anymore are going to be pushed into your face, and you're going to have to make a choice. So this is the energy of 2025. I have another video I'll do on balance, because that's a very important conversation. I really want you to understand what that is and what's happening and what you can do to help that. And then I have another video I will do on purpose. Okay. So that's it for this video. If you have any questions about the unknown, the freedom part, or even this pendulum or something else you're curious to know about 2025, drop them below, and I will see if I can put a video together that would answer that. Okay. Have a great night, day, wherever you are, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.